Welcome everyone for today's study. It is always a great pleasure to be together, ourselves and all of those who may join us through our channel YouTube, Facebook, or also those who may be connected through Web Rádio Fraternidade. May you all feel welcome. We carry on studying about Spiritism inspiring lives. And today the theme is the purpose of life. And in order to facilitate our team today, we have the great pleasure to have with us Leonardo Rodrigues, our friend from London. He is here with us already. He integrates the Bezerra de Menezes Spiritist Society in London, and he will be guiding us throughout this 1 hour of reflections. But before we start our study, our reflections, we invite everyone for the moment for us to harmonize ourselves. For those who may choose to close your eyes, feel free to do so. But the main point is to choose to look within us. In choosing to calming our minds, our hearts, and observe our inner world. As we breathe in, breathe out, and choose to disconnect from the external reality so that we open our minds and hearts as learners in the universe as we all are. Immortal beings, essentially beings of love and goodness. And we have the opportunity to be learning on earth or in school, gradually awakening our consciousness so that we can see and feel the beauty of life, helping us to transcend our limitations and awaken from within the ability to see that life has a great purpose. Once we focus within the center of ourselves, which is love, we will experience our experiences from a different angle, always as learners, understanding that challenges are part of our existence, of our experiences, of our growing journey. And we ask that the enlightened beings may bless us all, ourselves who are here, and all of those in homes, and those who later on may be in contact with this talk. May you feel the peace, tranquility, and serenity that the enlightened beings involve us all. And surrounded by those vibrations of tenderness, of gentleness, of love, we start our reflections today. So once more, welcome all of you who are here, all of you who may later on join us. And Leonardo, once more, welcome to the Spiritist Psychological Society in order to facilitate the team today, the purpose of life. And in that way, I hand it over to you and speak to you on the end of the talk.
Okay, thank you very much, Psychological Spiritist Society, for this opportunity, which will be my first talk in English. So bear with me. So I am a member in London of Bezerra de Menezes Spiritist Society. So this great friend of all of us, Bezerra, has been teaching a lot to us through his examples when he was walking on this earth. Even before he became officially, I like to say this, officially a Spiritist, he was already following his purpose in life. He had medicine, our physical body health, but he discovered early on in his journey the importance of our neighbors, of our brothers and sisters. The question is how he discovered this, how he knew that those paths, those roads and directions, they were the right ones for him. So we are always thinking about life, making plans, our next holiday, what I'm gonna buy, what I'm going on the weekend, those things which are fine and they are right because we are in this material life, and we are always on fast mode, thinking and distracting sometimes ourselves. But life is always inviting us to reflect, and especially in the last 2 years, 2-3 years, we were basically told to stop, to slow down, to be more precise, to stay at home. And what happened? We had to look to our home. We had to look to the things we have. We had to look to the people we live with. And we had to stay indoors. How we see this process? In the beginning, it was, I can say, a little uncomfortable for some. Because as a society, as a group, I'm not talking about one individual, one country, I'm talking about as the global. We are used to always be on the run, do things, distract sometimes ourselves. And we're not used to look at ourselves individually. We're not used to look at the things we've already conquered. Be those things conquered material or psychological, spiritual. We are not used to it. We have moments that we stop, but this time, life really is inviting us to reflect. And that's the main thing. And then that's what happened in a way when we were talking about Bezerra. He started to realize the signs that life was giving to him of which directions to go and which directions he could go, but the outcome wouldn't be necessarily interesting. So here we come to our first slide, which is the meaning of purpose. What is the meaning of purpose? How I see purpose? So we have the reason for which something exists or is done, made, used for. An intended or desired result, aim or goal. Determination, to set as an aim, intention or goal for oneself. So how I see my intentions, my determinations. Do I have the habit to look to my choices? Do I know I can change my choices at any moment? Because spirituality, universal love is giving to us at any moment the opportunity to restart. So then we go to our second slide, which is definition of life. So how I define life, the quality that distinguishes a vital and functional being from a dead being, a principle of force that's considered to underlie the distinctive quality of inanimate beings, or an organismic state characterized by capacity of metabolism. So those, of course, are definitions of life that of the tools that help us function, help this material body to function. Now, in the next slide, we see these three elements that we find in the Spiritist doctrine. This Trinity, God as the one that not only supervises but is the creator. We have spirit and we have matter. Let's go through the definition of each of one of those elements. At the end, it will make sense why we are going through this route. Because as we've seen, the definition of life was very material, was only on the functioning of our body. I could say almost biological, definition of what life is. But life, this is one part, it's not wrong, but life has a whole of other definitions that are also important for us, that will help us define the directions we need to take or continue to take, and to find our purpose. So the next slide, we see in the Spirit's book, Kardec, Allan Kardec, he doesn't ask who, he asks what is God? What is it? And the answer, God is the supreme intelligence, the first cause of all things. Then he asks how someone can know what is made by God and what is made by man. And then the spirits, they answer that look at nature and see what is not a result of man's work is made by God, by this supreme intelligence. So the second definition we find here is this, I'm not going too deep into it, it's just for us to know that there is God, there is spirit, and there is matter. This matter is the universal cosmic principle, the primitive matter. It's a primitive cosmic matter. It's the basic matter from which everything else known by man is made of. Is made by a variation of this element. An example, gravity, electricity, raw matter to produce other materials. So the cosmic fluid is the divine plasma, says André Luiz in Evolution in Two Worlds, which is a good reading, I recommend. And that is in English, a translation. Is the divine plasma, breath of the creator. In this primitive first element, constellations and suns, worlds and beings vibrate and live like fish in the ocean. So just for us to understand, this element is everywhere. But from this element, all the matter we know, and the ones we don't know, but we will know one day, is a variation of this element. And for us to know, when I was studying many years ago, when the three states of matter, there were three. Now, there's a liquid, gas, and the solid. Now there is plasma, and after plasma there are 10 or 15 more. There are also matter within this earth, within this atmosphere we live in, but some of them, they are so fluid, transcendent, that, if I can say that we cannot see. We need special equipment to see those elements, those states of matter, but they exist. So just for us to know that this matter can those variations that can be, we can have the wood and the trees, and from the trees we make things. An example, soil, we can make a number of things, water, and also other things like gravity, electricity. So that just for us to know, this is the primitive matter. So now, the second slide, the next slide, we will see Kardec. He asks, "What is a spirit? What is a spirit? If God is the supreme intelligence, and spirit, the answer is the intelligent principle of the universe." Intelligence, it's not the spirit. Intelligence, it's an element. It's a tool used by the spirit. This intelligence, it evolves with our journey. And then the next slide, Kardec, in another book, Genesis, he asks, what is a spirit? Perispirit. So perispirit, or fluidic body of the spirits, is one of the most important products of the cosmic fluid. The cosmic fluid is another name for this for the primitive cosmic matter. Okay, is another name. It's a condensation of this fluid around a focus of intelligence or soul. It is also seen that the material body has also its origins in the same fluid, transformed and condensed into tangible matter. The perispiritual or carnal and carnal body have then their source in the same primitive element. Both are made of matter, although under two different states of it. So what he's saying is, remember, we have God, we have spirit, and we have matter. The spirit can express itself only when he needs matter to express itself. So when we say the spirit needs matter, the spirit needs one, I can say one body. So, which we call perispirit or spiritual body. It's not a problem. And this is made from material, from this primitive matter, added, of course, the elements of the world this spirit will express itself. And the interesting thing is, the carnal body, this more dense body, this one we have here, is also made from a variation of the same primitive matter. Will make sense after. So let's continue our journey. So here, there is a question, how we may define matter? Matter is the tie that enchains spirit. It is the instrument that the spirit uses and upon which it simultaneously exerts its actions. From this viewpoint, one could say that matter is the agent or intermediary that enables the spirit to act, while at the same time being acted upon by spirit. So, as we said, the spirit needs this instrument, this spiritual body, to express, to act in our world, in the spiritual world. Of course, this spiritual body will have densities which will vary accordingly to how will be more, how can I explain, the density of the spiritual body will be directly linked to the moral of the spirit. By moral, I mean the goodness that the spirit does. How empowering the actions of this spirit of this spirit are for the people around, for society, and for himself. So that's what he's basically saying. So the next slide, I apologize, the names are in Portuguese on top. So we have, this picture is only for guidance. Spirit, perispirit, and material body. They are all together, spirit and material body, they are together, and they have this bridge, which is the perispirit, but doesn't have one specific place where spirit is, and then the perispirit, and then the material body. They are all linked one with another. There is no end or where one finishes, the other starts. No, they are all together. It's cell by cell. So, and the perispirit, I love this explanation, is the interexistential link, because the perispirit allows the spirit, we are spirits reincarnated, and allow us to have a feeling, a glimpse, depends how sensitive we are, about the world, about the spiritual world, and the world around us. That's due to this bridge, which is the perispirit. So, continuing our journey, because we need to know first our elements. Because remember, the first definition we got live was all about biological functioning of the body, the material body. But before the material body, we are spirits. So we are not material beings. We are spiritual beings. So expressing ourselves here on a material world. So on this slide, we see we know now that the spirit's bodies, they come from the same source, the universal primitive matter. Also, our thoughts, they propagate and they circulate around in the world and to other people through using this cosmic principle, because this cosmic principle is everywhere and allows the thought to travel around. And here we have another element, the thought. Thought comes from the spirit. Spirit produces thought. Our minds produces thoughts, not the bodies. So this is an element, important element for our journey here today. So the next picture we see this in this order that we call in the next slide. This order, it's our magnetic field, which is, I would say, it's formed by all the other irradiations of all the bodies, of the spirit, of the perispirit, of the material body. They all irradiate light. So and we all have this magnetic field or order around us. And through our evolution, we are, with each step, we are more aware of it, and we realize that each one of us has an individual path. We can see here, we have imprinted, we are our path. It's individual, it's unique. But at the same time, now we realize, because we live in society, even though I have my path, my unique path, my individual path, but my decisions, my thoughts, they will affect people around me in a positive or negative way. And this is linked to my purpose in life. How I see my thoughts, how I see which they leave me, how my thoughts leave me when I'm thinking, I'm going through them, or after I left them behind. They left me with a feeling of happiness. They left me empowered, enlightened, curious, or heavy, disturbed. So we need to start looking into these things. That's why the last 3 years, roughly 3 years, it's been difficult, because we were so accustomed to pace, really fast pace, and then we are told, now you need to stop. You need to look into yourself. And the advantage of it is that we could see ourselves, and we realized that we can always change the direction we are going. We can change our choices. This is one of the things, another ingredient in this journey we are doing today. So the next slide. Now we see another definition, but a little bit with other elements. So life is the sequence of physical and mental experiences that make up the existence of an individual. So here we see our experiences on this material world, working, going on holiday, buying things like clothes, food. But it also see something else. We are not only a machine that walk, work, and buy things. Before that, this is important for our material life, yes, but we're not material beings. We have also mental experiences. We are also mental beings, or according to the Spiritist doctrine, we are spirits. And being spiritual beings, we have mental, psychological, and spiritual experiences. And sometimes we're not aware of it, but we have. And to be aware of this side of ourselves, and then to be aware of what we call life, this another element of life, it's important because we will help us see a bigger picture and change a little bit our journey. But here there is a question: how I see myself, how I'm accustomed to see myself. That's an important question. So let's go to the next slide, where Divaldo Franco, Joana de Angelis, she says through Divaldo, human life is the result of an almost infinite process of evolution under the command of the divine psychism, which is all love, hair of the primary expressions through which he passed. We are heirs of ourselves. That's why. So being ahead of myself indicates that I am on a journey evolving with each step. Here, it's not a race. We're not on a race. It's not about who will get to the finish line first. But what is that about? It's about balance. It's about discover with each step the sides of life. We've seen the material, the meta side in the first definition of life. And now we know life is more than only the material view. There is a point of view, but there is the view of a point of view. Depends from where we see. There are other perspectives and other sides that we need to consider. And this is so important in that journey to find our purpose. We now can see that our thoughts, they have an influence in our lives. Our thoughts, they have an influence in other people's lives. And they circulate around. So we send them away, but we receive them as well. And we will receive the thoughts in the same density that we send. So that's why the question here is how I see myself. And slowing down, it's important, so I can plan and I can see what I've been doing. But let's go to the next slide. Here, translate this evolution uh, throughout mankind and the history. Since our intelligence was evolved enough that we could perceive the world, that we could understand things around us. Um, um, Primitive men, they start to make fire, and after a while they realized they could communicate with sounds, they could communicate painting on walls. And then after a little bit more uh, of walk and evolution brought the care for the dead. So why throughout this journey we start caring for our family and friends and people around us that passed away, and we look after their body? This is a questioning. This is an important moment, because I start seeing that, or at least realize, have a hint that maybe there is more. I'm not only here to hunt for food and to make fire. Maybe there is something else. So there is a hint there. So with time, we start asking, who am I? Where have I come from? And then where am I going? And the spiritual doctrine helped and is helping us to find those answers, and or it's helping us throughout these reflections. So in the next slide, when man developed a consciousness, he started to ask questions, like we're saying. So here, throughout history, all the greatest philosophers, thinkers, we're not going through each one, but we have here a hint of Plato that suggested knowledge, Aristotle, virtue, the Stoics, the self-control, the moment of now. Nietzsche made them think about choice, made them think about our choices in life. So in the next slide, we see knowledge, virtue, self-control, and choice. This is just a glimpse of this, the work of our questioning and through our evolution. Purpose plus life. So, how I see this? Pleasure, virtue. I see my purpose in life only pleasure, or for me, my pleasure in life is to have a virtue in my life. So to develop a virtue, I will be able to see both sides of this definition, the biological and the spiritual. So it's about balance, but how I see it's very individual of each one of us. So let's go for the next slide. Here it's interesting. Salvador Dali, he says, mistakes are almost always of a sacred nature. Never try to correct them. On the contrary, rationalize them, understand them thoroughly. What he's saying, if we try to surrender ourselves to our mistakes, we will end up being buried by them. And we will not give ourselves the opportunity to live our full potential, to discover pleasures, to discover the pleasure of developing virtue. We will not see this because we think we cannot move on because we made mistakes. No, we need to understand them. Of course, there are help around for us to be able to understand and how to change our directions, because we can. The feeling here, if we surrender to it, to our mistakes, if we don't see, if we don't go inside and start to see this, to work on our thoughts, our choices, we'll be feeling worthless. We'll be feeling without purpose. Now it's getting clear. The purpose is a balance between pleasure and virtue, the virtue of pleasure or the pleasure of virtue. So it's a combination of both. It's about getting better today, better than yesterday, and tomorrow better than today. So it's a step by step. If I surrender, I stay without direction, like I see in the next slide. I stay without direction, and I'm feeling heavy. I start believe I do not fit in the society. So this is it's okay not to be okay. It's okay to ask for help. If I am on that moment in my life, it's okay to raise the hand and say, look, I need help. It's okay. It's brave. I'm brave when I say I need help. This is important. So in the next slide, we see in Plato's Allegory of the Cave, we may interpret mankind trying to box in people's individualities, uniqueness, making the human frail and blurring each one potentiality or potential to improve. And here we can even see our insecurities due to a stigma influenced and created by the conditioning of the human in mankind. Each person starts to feel the need to fit in a box, in a frame that deep inside doesn't match the inner being. That's why it's important to go inside and see this balance. Remember, purpose plus life, pleasure and virtue. We need to always go back to that and reflect on that. We need to express ourselves, and by expressing ourselves, we are empowering the world with goodness and positiveness, or no? So we need to visit, always revisit this reflection base. So Louise Hay, she says, fear generates anguish, create ghosts, paralyze us, disqualify our desires, and takes away our awareness of our rights. We all have the right to change, to express, and to be. That's really important. On the next slide, it's a kind of a resume of it. Now, the stigma generating fear, low self-esteem, we get a feeling of detachment and the lack of purpose or emptiness. So in the next slide, we see the call from Jesus all of you who are struggling and burdened, and I will give you rest. Come to me. The call from Jesus represents the call of love, but not the kind of love that we can not feel, embrace, or practice. This is the love that highlights our strength and our efforts. We can see it through people we know, moments, situations, situations that make us look and through our journey inside ourselves, we start to see our perspectives, our thoughts, our choices. That love sees us like we are. That love sees us and walk with us like we are. That love tells us all the time that we are enough and capable. That love makes us see others like us, like fellow brothers and sisters. It's so important who are on a journey of self-discovery with our frailties, our flaws, and with all the goodness, but also with the talents and victories, sometimes long forgotten by us. This is important, this call. The next slide we've been through already. The man can be considered the thought that externalizes, encourages, and nourishes. We know we are all linked to each other. And the next one, Louise Ray, she says, stop for a moment and ask, what are your dominant thoughts in the face of events? Not to accuse or blame yourself, but simply to become aware of your thoughts and see if they help you to live happily. It's about going back to that state, to that place, purpose plus life, pleasure, virtue. How I see them, how they wait afterwards on myself and others. So that's what she's inviting us to reflect. In the next slide, we see we have an immense capacity to change the world and our lives with our thoughts. And on the next slide, we have this invitation to know thyself. The old man, in order to shed his characteristic cloak, cannot do so without a greater inner revolution. The past of each struggling spirit on earth is a whole pile of rubble to be removed in order to rebuild and re-equip. So with each step, we change, we open space to goodness, to victories, to recover talents that we forgot, to repair areas that we need to repair. And that's okay. And that's part of evolution of our journey. And on this one, which is almost the last one, Louise Hay, she finalizes with this beautiful expression. When we understand that our thoughts control our lives and that the only thing we have to control is our way of thinking, we acquire a power that's almost miraculous. This awareness gives us enormous possibilities to improve the quality of our lives and free us from fear. And remember, fear, like everything else we believe in, is just thoughts. And thoughts can be changed. So here it's for us to remember the importance to go back and see and reflect on ourselves. And the last one is, the next slide, is the purpose of life is to discover your gift. The work of life is to develop it. And the meaning of life is to give your gift away. to share with people. When we realize it, we are all now on a journey, on a different journey, and sometimes we stop, sometimes we reflect, sometimes we raise our hand for help, sometimes we give our hand to help someone. So throughout our evolution, throughout our journey, we will see and we will experience it. So one of the purposes in our life is to be aware of those moments and never be ashamed to stop, reorganize our inner self in order to continue. So I would like to read, if I have time, it's a short poem that starts like this. It will be the name of the poem, which is the next slide, is The Reflection, which is the next slide says, tiredness is born from within me. Sadness invades me and dilutes hope. That rootless gives in, little by little, to torrent of thoughts created by disbelief. At that very moment, I look at my reflection on the glass of the closed window, and I get frightened by the presence of a stranger. Who is this person in front of me? Where did I stop so that the idea of myself projected dominates me? Where is that flexible and strong being like a bamboo? Is it worth returning? Where will I be? I got lost and I don't know where to start. I need to change, but where to start? I see in this strange reflection something familiar. I concentrate with all my strength. I see something that hides behind this plastic appearance. I take a deep breath. The air enters my lungs and reaches my soul, as my words, wet with tiredness, cry out for help. The air, like a gentle breeze, soothes my heart and revives the spark of light within my most interior. The strange reflection fades away. Tears flows out, magnetized in surprise, joy, and fear. I see myself. I am alive. And with this poem, I thank you very much for the opportunity. I hope everyone enjoyed, and I hope this help all of us. Thank you very much for the opportunity.
We give thanks to you, Leonardo. The Spiritist Psychological Society expresses our gratitude towards your presence, your fraternal presence amongst us in facilitating this stream today. And as we are coming to the end of this meeting, as learners as we are, we invite everyone who is with us through the different channels that we are connected with for us to finalize it in a loving way that we unite our thoughts and feelings and giving thanks to life, giving thanks to the universe which favors our evolution, giving us, presenting us infinite opportunities for us to expand our reflections, or ways to address ourselves, or ways to observe our inner experiences as learners, as immortal beings as we all are. Bear in mind that God is the creator of everything and everyone. And God is the loving creature who loves us all, who embraces us all, who, despite of our limitations and mistakes, which are part in our learning, we still are all loved by God. Ourselves who are in the flesh, and all of those who are out of flesh, in spirit. May these moments that we are all blessed by the enlightened beings reach us, that we may feel the good feelings, the blessings that are extended to every and each one of us. Bear in mind that the purpose of life is learn to love ourselves, to love others, to love the Creator, to love our journey either on earth or in the spiritual realm. Wherever we are, always, God grants us the possibilities for us to renew, for us to choose to change, for us to choose to stimulate within the higher potentials, virtues such as humbleness, generosity, benevolence, indulgence, forgiveness. Oh, how we need to learn to forgive ourselves and others. Understanding that forgiveness is the exercise and practice of love and goodness within as a free choice, expanding our minds and hearts to understand that only us can hurt ourselves. Only us can choose to love and to heal ourselves. Let's in these moments choose to look up, to look forward, and choose freely to walk our path of inner liberation as a free choice, understanding that no one is alone. We are all assisted by good friends who are with us. If not in the flesh, in the spirit, we all have loved ones. The challenging experiences are part of our learning for us to overcome our own limitations. Let's always choose to hope. Let's always choose to look forward as an immortal being, which is evolving through the hardships to potentialize ourselves in a deeper level. And in that way we give thanks and express our gratitude for everything and everyone in our existences, learning for everything and everyone, and above all, with ourselves, the best companions, friends of ourselves, and carry on loving ourselves and others, day by day, moment by moment, today and always. So be it. Leonardo, in that way, thank you, and all of those who are with us, our gratitude. And for those who want to follow us tonight in our study in Portuguese at 8 p.m., please feel free to join us. In other words, we hope that in other opportunities, Leonardo, we can again learn together, and you may be here. Our gratitude, much peace to you, to your family all, and hope to see you soon. Bye-bye to all.
Thank you very much.
See you. Bye-bye.